Acton Academy, we have a quest, and a quest is kind of like about robots or like ancient Rome and other things.
So Acton Academy, what I saw that I needed for my kids and why we had to start one, it does not take responsibility away from students. And the way they do that is adults are never, ever allowed to answer a question in the classroom, which is mind-blowing. The adults do not lecture and do not answer questions. So the learners quickly figure out that the adults aren't going to help me anyway, let me figure this out.
So at Acton Academy, we don't have a teacher, just a guide, and how we teach ourselves is on computers.
A lot of traditional schools and a lot of adults and parents in general are taking responsibility away from young people. And they want to create a nice, clean environment, learning environment, and it's taking away the messy decision-making and the responsibility that a young person can be trusted with. They're capable of crazy things, You got to help them have experiences, and public school's not giving them very many experiences. I mean, they get some, but shop classes are being taken out of school.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of those experiences just aren't there.
That's so interesting. It just makes so much sense, and I love that autonomy that's being given to them, and then that they have to learn on their own. I mean, that's life too. Even going to college and you show up and you get your degree and you go, well, what do I do now? I have to pay back student loans, but I don't have a job. Well, we weren't given the tools to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, you're giving them tools at a young age to just figure it out.
My favorite thing about Acton Academy is that we have fake time. My favorite thing about Acton Academy is that we get to do Legos.
The hero's journey is huge. It's how you motivate the learners to be who they can be. You tell them, look, you are giving freedom to pursue what you want to pursue. Here's some tools. Here's some of the skills that we think you'll need, but it's up to you to become who you need to be. And you can make a difference in the world. You tell them every day that you can find a calling in the world and make a difference. And then we read stories of heroes. We read about Albert Einstein and Helen Keller. We read these little stories that talk about these heroes even at a young age. What did Albert Einstein do when he was a kid? He did not fit in school. Yeah. He was not a good student, so he couldn't spell, things like that. So they learn about these heroes and they start to see themselves in these stories. Nowhere else are you smashed in by age. Traditional schools smashing them all by age and saying, well, you all have to be the same level is totally dumb because nobody learns at the same rate of different things. Some excel at math and some excel at this. Just let them excel at what they excel at and let them teach the younger ones and let the younger ones ask for help from the older ones, and they learn so much faster and grow socially so much faster. They have to be leaders and they admire each other and they help each other, and that's been really cool to watch.
How do the subjects work? So we've talked about math, but what other subjects are there and how are those approached?
A typical day is we start off with a Socratic launch. Socratic teaching is where you ask questions only. Yeah. Hard questions that normally don't have a real answer, and it has to matter to them. And so they start to learn to articulate and discuss deeply right off the bat. So 15 minutes every morning we'll do a Socratic discussion. And then we have core skills time, which is where they all get their computers. We set them up on all these different softwares that are adaptive learning, where they don't need teachers to give them lectures. They can pause it, they can fast forward, and it's adaptive. So when they're good at it, it lets them move on. If they're bad at it, it gives them more exercises. And we have that for reading and writing and math. And then we have history. We do experience-based. We'll read stories, and then we'll do experiences based on that.
Do they have to read anything?
Yeah, so they do the core skills time. They have their computer work. They work through those programs, and then we'll often have some free time, and then we'll do a DEAR, drop everything and read. We don't care what books they read.
So in DEAR, we get to pick whatever book we want, and we just put on music and read.
They have to, comic books or whatever it is that they are into, they get into it and they read these books, and they get this time that they start to really enjoy. They sit on the beanbag and they have a little hanging swing and stuff, and they sit wherever they want and they read. And for 30 minutes, not every day, about 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And they start to love that, ideally they progress through all the books we have, and then we're going to start putting some of the deep classical books on the shelf. We're not going to force them to read it. And then they have badges for books. They can do kind of book reports where they have to pick a great book, a book that's influenced the world somehow, and explain why it influenced the world and what lessons they learned, and that's how they earn their book badge. So that's another way of kind of getting them to think about their books and articulate to their peers about why that book matters to the world. And then after lunch, they have just group quests. And the quests, starting in January, we're doing robotics and programming, where they have challenges that they have to do on their own. The adults don't help, but I have to set it all up for them. I have to have everything there for them, but otherwise they have to do it on their own.
That's so cool.
And they take off with it. Like I just showed them Tinkercad. It's a kid-based 3D CAD modeling software. I just showed it to them and got their account on their computer, and they just do it. And I have a 3D printer in the studio. They've been printing Christmas ornaments and stuff. Like they just love doing that. And then Tinkercad now has circuit design and modeling and programming as kind of game-based, so they're going to be doing some of that. They don't do traditional grades. They have badges that they work towards, like Boy Scouts. They pick their interests and they work towards these badges, and that's how they show what they've accomplished to the world. And we have times where they can be we call them exhibitions. At the end of each session, they'll do these quests where they have either experiences with either technology or history or something else, where it's an experience that they do as a group together in a tight-knit tribe, and then they have to present that to their parents and friends. And so that's kind of where the grades step in, because grades don't mean anything anymore.
Well, good job doing what you're doing. That's like you said, it's a risk, and it's a financial risk, and it's kind of a life risk, but you're doing it for such a good purpose. And with your kids in mind and wanting them to have that hero's journey, just good job.
Well, thanks.
It's really, really cool.